We love you.
Know in your heart that you are loved.
We bless you.
And you are a blessing to this world.
We appreciate you.
You are an individualized expression of God.
We behold the Christ as you.
The kingdom of heaven is all around you and within you. We look forward to the time when we will be together again.
Good morning, my dear friends, and welcome. Welcome to Unity Center for Spiritual Growth, our Sunday celebration service. I am delighted to be here with you. I'm Reverend Pat Bessie. I am the lead minister, and it is my joy to spend this next hour or so with you. And I can already see that many of you are coming on. I see Anita and Patty and Jack and Christine and Don Labby and Carol Holt. All of you are so loyal, and I am so grateful for each and every one of you. And I want to just say, this is another fabulous Sunday in Maine, and we are so grateful. I hope you've been able to get out and start to see the colors. The trees are changing so quickly, and it is so beautiful. Just another beautiful reason why I love Maine so much. So if you are joining us, I see Joanne Kramer. Happy Sunday to you, Joanne. If you're joining us for the very first time, I would really invite you to put your name in our chat box so that we can welcome you. I know that folks are paying attention to the chat box, and if they see a new name and somebody that's new, they're going to reach out to you. We can't do it in person, but we certainly can do it this way. So welcome, and I'm going to now turn it over to Dina as she officially starts our service today.
Good morning. There we go. Come, let us gather together. This is a place of love. We come together as people of prayer. This is a house built on love. Come, let us gather in peace. This is a sacred space. We join our hearts here in one loving family. This is a house built on love. We come together as people of prayer. This is a house built on love.
Thank you. And would you bring Dina back on, Chris? Because I do want to share. Dina, your music and your voice was garbled a little bit. I don't know if you're using something different this morning.
No, everything is the same. Let me check. I might not be on 5G. Let me see. That's possible because I didn't check beforehand. Yeah, I'm not on 5G right now.
Okay.
Sorry, let me get centered here. I can get on 5G, but it'll probably take me off, and then you'll need to click me back in.
Okay. Whatever. Thank you, honey. Okay, Chris. All right, my friends. You know, this is the beauty of technology. We get to move in the moment. So I'm going to invite you right now to join me in prayer. So move down into your heart space, into that place where love resides. And remember that love is always available. It's always available for whatever we are encountering in our life, whether it be garbled voices or meeting people that we don't know, seeing and hearing from people who are in a struggle. We can always let that love out and send it wherever it is needed. And it is needed so many places in our world today. There is so much need for love. So I just know that each and every one of you that are here with me this morning, that you are love magnets. And that love that you have stored up within you, you just spill it out. And you know, it's one of those things that the more you use it, the more you have. So don't be stingy with it. Let it go. Let it go to the places where it's needed. Let it go to the fires in California, to the people in the Louisiana coastline and Texas who have been inundated with water. Let it go wherever it is needed, maybe within your own family. And certainly to all the people who are affected by the COVID pandemic. So we just let that love out, knowing that where it is needed, God will direct it. And so for that and so much more, we give thanks for this time together, this time to lift our hearts up, to be in that place of reminding ourselves how important it is to stay in love. And for that and so much more, we say thank you, God. And so it is, and we let it be. Amen. Amen. And oh my goodness, I see more of you that have come on. Julie and Pat Barkey and Diane from Brunswick and Rev Leroy, Betty Gates. Oh, you are all here this morning, and I am so grateful for that. And so I want to just also mention that Jack Cole is our prayer partner this morning, and so he is holding the service as I speak. And I know that the energy that Jack holds is one that will just uplift each and every one of us. And so now let us speak our invocation. And we'll bring Dina back on for that. There she is. All right. Let us say together, there is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God, the good omnipotent. One presence, one power, and that one presence and one power is that love that I was speaking to you about. And it's always available to us. And then we have our vision statement. And our vision statement is centered in divine love. We celebrate a spiritually transformed world. We celebrate a world where everyone is being respected and honored and seen for the truth of who they are. We see that this spiritually transformed world is in the making as we speak. And then we have our mission statement. And our mission statement is Unity Center for Spiritual Growth reaches in to reach out through education, service, and creation of community. Everything that we do begins with prayer. And then we take that guidance and we apply it where it is being called. And we have core values that we live by as a community. And I'm hoping that you live by them as individuals as well. And they are, we are loving, we are accepting, we are authentic, we are soul-centric, we are compassionate. Oh, we are transformative. I'm sorry. Let's start again. We are loving, we are accepting, we are authentic, we are transformative, we are soul-centric, we are compassionate, and we are welcoming. And that is the truth about us. And so now I'm going to turn it back to Dina as she shares our congregational song with us.
Congregational song this week is Stand My Ground. I'm going to see if I can get it a little closer. Without cutting off the top or cutting off the bottom. There's stuff on the bottom here. Yeah, but it's just a repeat. Okay, that's pretty good. So Pat, when I'm done with the song, please let me know if the sound is better. Ain't gonna let nothing turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nothing turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking up to freedom land. I'm gonna live straight and stand my ground, stand my ground, stand my ground. I'm gonna live straight and stand my ground. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking up to freedom land. I'm gonna live in faith and stand my ground, stand my ground, stand my ground. I'm gonna live in faith and stand my ground. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let nothing turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nothing turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking up to freedom land, walking up to freedom land, walking up to freedom land.
Still breaking up a little bit, Dina, so I'm not sure it's you. It may just be the internet or whatever.
I didn't hear what you said at the beginning. You weren't even there. Can you say that again?
I said you're still breaking up. It's one of those times when your voice and when your mouth and your music isn't coming together. But we'll have to deal with it because you've done everything you need to do.
Yep.
Sorry about that. I just want to also say I'm seeing other people on here, and I'm seeing Suzanne Thurlow, who we haven't seen in a very long time. So really great to have you with us. I'm seeing Jana's on here, and we're sending you healing love, Jan, as you heal from your surgery on Thursday. And Leah, oh my gosh, Leah is on with us this morning. So many of our wonderful friends are here. So this is a time after I greet everybody, because I just love that, that I tell you about our 5 basic principles. And I want to tell you, friends, if you're paying attention at all on the things that are going on in our world and in our country, these 5 basic principles are the things that you're holding on to. Mine have my nail prints in them. And the first one is that God is good and everywhere present, everywhere present. And the second one is that the Spirit of God lives within each person. Therefore, all people are inherently good. And I have to keep remembering that. I have to keep remembering that when I'm seeing somebody that I feel like they're not showing up as who they are, I have to remember that at the core of their being, they are inherently good. And the third one is that we create our life experience through our way of thinking. And this is why it's so important to get our thinking right. It's so important to remember what Valerie Carr says when she says, see no stranger, see everybody as your sister, your brother, your auntie, or uncle. because then you can see them through the lens of love. And then the fourth one is that there is power in affirmative prayer, which we believe increases our connection to God. Prayer and meditation is that power that we have to keep our thinking right, to keep remembering the truth of who we are, and that if we are inherently good, everybody else is as well. And then lastly is knowledge of these spiritual principles is not enough. We must live them. We must put them into action in our life. We must put them into action every moment of every day, remembering that there is only one presence and one power, and that one presence and one power is operating in your life right now. So, with that, as I said to you, these are your lifelines. Make sure that you have them in your spiritual toolbox and you carry them everywhere that you go. And now it is my privilege to bring on our daily word reader today, and it's somebody that you know well, and that is Kim Copperthwaite. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, everybody. 7th, and our daily word is faith. With faith, nothing is impossible for me. With gratitude, I use my faith to trust in the good that is always present, even when it has not yet manifested. As I pray with faith, I discern the truth that always endures through even the most difficult circumstances. As I concentrate on harmony and love, all thoughts of lack, limitation, and discord simply dissolve. As I speak with faith, I use positive words to express my belief in myself and others as divine beings. As I act with faith, I access deep, lasting strength and fortitude that helps me surmount any challenges. Inspired by my faith, I move forward with confidence, and nothing is impossible to me. If you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. That was Matthew chapter 7, verse 20. Our word for the day is faith.
Thank you, Kim. That was beautiful, and it's so good to see you. And I just want to publicly thank you for stepping in while I was on vacation. I heard wonderful things, and of course, I know that about you. So have a great, we'll bring you back when it's time for the offering, but in the meantime, just enjoy the service.
Thank you. It was my pleasure, Reverend Pat. See you soon.
Okay. And now we'll bring Dina back as she does her beautiful thing of music.
Thank you. Let me just lower this a little bit so you can see it. And I do see from the chat box that the sound problem is not universal. At least one person out there is hearing me just fine, so that's very encouraging. Okay, so this is a David Roth song. This is I Stand for Love. You've heard this before. I've posted the refrain here, so you can feel free to join in on the refrain. And the song starts with the refrain. I stand for love. I stand for peace. I stand for joy and for what is beautiful and true. I stand for hope. I stand for you. I stand for love. I stand for peace. I stand for joy and for release. For what is beautiful and true. I stand for for you. We know our world is in great pain. We all need loving care today. Even those who fail to see all we have done and what we need. There is a cost for every act, and now there is no turning back. We shine our light, we strike a drum. It's time to rise, the time has come to stand for love, to stand for peace, to stand for joy and for release, for what is beautiful and true, to stand for hope, to stand for you. If you're thinking it's not urgent, that we've got more time to kill, if I'm not the one who'll change things, then for heaven's sake, who will? So I will move and I will climb that mountain one step at a time. I won't be swayed, I will not stop until we've made it to the top, where we will stand for love and peace. We'll stand for joy and for release. What is beautiful and true? We'll stand for hope. We'll stand for you. For what is beautiful and true? I stand for hope. I stand for you.
Thank you, Dina. Do not get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful. Be optimistic. Our struggle is not the struggle of a day, a week, a month, or a year. It is the struggle of a lifetime. Never, ever be afraid to make some noise and get in good trouble, necessary trouble. Now, I know many of you know that that comes from the late John Lewis, but it is so appropriate for today, for where we are. Do not get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful. Be optimistic. Make some noise. Get in good trouble. Necessary trouble. On July 24th, Valerie Kaur posted this. There is a cavern in my chest. 1 week ago today, we lost a giant in the labor for racial justice. Congressman John Lewis' indefatigable commitment to civil rights spans close to 6 decades. He became our nation's moral conscience. He was arrested, beaten bloody, skull fractured, and still he showed up to the labor over and over, urging us to never to fear getting into good and necessary trouble. What does it mean for us to be as brave as the ancestors we cherish? And that is the quote from Valerie. Again, we all know about the passing of John Lewis, and he still stands mighty high in our thoughts and prayers. And so today we continue with week 3 of a 9-week series that I am doing from this book called See No Stranger, a memoir and manifesto of revolutionary love by Valerie Kaur. And I want to remind you of the definition that Valerie has for revolutionary love. Revolutionary love is the choice to enter into wonder and labor for others, for our opponents, and for ourselves in order to transform the world around us. It is not a formal code or prescription, but an orientation to life that is personal and political and rooted in joy. Loving ourselves is escapism. Loving only our opponents is self-loathing. Loving only others is ineffective. All 3 practices together make love revolutionary. And revolutionary love can only be practiced in community. Only can be practiced in community. And that is the reason that we come together in community, because we need all 3. We need to have that wonder, and we need to labor for each other. So today, the chapter we are exploring is fight. And the question that she asks is not whether or not we will fight in our lives, but how we choose to fight. How we choose to fight. And I know that probably when you hear the word fight, you kind of sit up and kind of shudder, because fight isn't a word that we use often, or hopefully it isn't, especially when we're teaching nonviolence. But I think the way that she uses it here is really in unison with what we think of when we think of nonviolence. The fight impulse, she says, is ancient and fundamental. It is biological. So when I started this series, I told you that this book is much about Valerie's life, which is the reason that it's called a memoir. But it is also about the manifesto of revolutionary love. And so a little history on Valerie. She is a Sikh and learned to fight from her ancestors. She was connected to the Sikh warrior tradition. And she shares this. Dr. King named 3 evils: racism, poverty, and militarism. But he left out a 4th, sexism. The assumption that women and girls are less than equal and therefore deserve less dignity and freedom is perhaps the most ancient, pervasive, and insidious evil of them all. But sexism is not a single issue. And that was from Valerie. And this is from Black feminist Audre Lorde. She says, there is no such thing as a single issue struggle because we do not live single issue lives. And we can see that. We can see that so clearly right now. There are so many issues that are front and center that are grabbing our attention. Valerie points out that Sikh women must fight. Here's what they must fight: hate and racism out in the world, ignorance and invisibility, even within progressive spaces, and sexism within their own communities. And this doesn't just apply to Sikh women. I think this applies to many. She notes that up until 9/11, Sikh advocates were gaining traction on issues like domestic violence, sexual assault, and sexism within the Sikh communities. But with the threat of hate violence, those issues got put on the back burner as the women were now protecting their fathers, their brothers, husbands, and sons. Although the hate crimes never ended, the women began again to join in solidarity with one another. And we're seeing this again. Again, I say it crosses all spectrums. With the COVID violence, domestic violence is up significantly. So these are, again, not single issues. Valerie writes, I find new chances to build solidarity with women from different communities, with other Sikh women, and with men who are allies. We are stronger together. How many times have we heard that quote in the last few months? We are stronger together. She continues, we cannot fight on multiple fronts alone and last. We need allies in our lives and in our movements who wonder, grieve, and fight with us and for us. And remember, the first week that I started this series, we looked at wonder. And we need to have that curiosity, that wonder. And then grieve. We have to be willing to hear people, listen, and grieve with them. And now fight. Perhaps a better word is accomplices. And we're hearing this. We're hearing the words ally and accomplices in the Black Lives movement, a term invoked by Indigenous leaders. We need accomplices who will conspire with us to break rules in order to break chains. I love that. Break rules in order to break chains. This past week, we lost a champion for women's rights, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, better known as RBG, someone who broke the rules in order to break chains. From the Facebook page Harness Your Energy to Power Change, I found this quote. I'm going to say that Facebook page again. Harness your energy to power change. And this is what the quote said. From fighting for gender equality as a public interest lawyer to becoming the second woman on the Supreme Court, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg will always be remembered as a champion who broke barriers and advocated for the most vulnerable. Her rest is well earned. Justice Ginsburg was a constant beacon of light, a stalwart for equality and justice in our best times and in our darker moments. She is a paragon of being in service to others and striving for your highest calling. In our fight, in our turn, fight and to carry on her it is our turn, It is our turn to fight and to carry on her legacy, to uplift and advocate for those less fortunate than ourselves, understanding that our own liberty is tied up in the liberation of every fellow American and citizen of the world. Listen to that last line. Understanding that our own liberty is tied up in the liberation of every fellow American and citizen of the world. Last night, I was watching a conversation that was being had with Whoopi Goldberg and Brian Stevenson. And Brian Stevenson, many of you might know, is the author of Just Mercy and is an advocate for people on death row. He has a movie out called Just Mercy that I would really recommend that you watch. But what he was talking about was talking about how we need to now be ready to listen and to be ready to hear the history that we've not been told about our country, the history that has been left out of the history books. And he said, we're not doing it as a way of just putting it up in our faces, but it is a way for us to liberate everyone, every fellow American and citizen of the world. And this is what Ruth Bader Ginsburg fought for as well. We must learn and understand the cultures, and this is why we're in the season for interspiritual, intercultural celebration. We must learn about the other. We must learn about those that we have not taken the time to learn about, or that we were never taught about. So what motivates you and me to show up and fight for a cause or to protect someone? Who will we fight for? What will we risk? What breaks our heart? What causes our fists to clench, our jaws to tighten, our heartbeat to quicken? This weekend is the weekend for the I can't even think of the name of it now. The One Peace Project. And yesterday I was on for the entire session and listening to people all over the world who are working for just what we're talking about here, where they have initiatives going to bring peace to the world. But to bring peace to the world, we have to be willing to fight. We have to be willing to risk. We have to be willing to have our hearts broken and our fists clenched. And what we were talking about is, how do we mobilize? How do we bring all of these organizations that are doing this all over the country together so that we can have a major coalition? And in the conversation, it came out to say, we have to first land on one issue and then take that issue and then go to the next issue, even though we know that there are no one single issues. But we have to begin to come together and coalesce around one issue and then work towards that. We also have to honor in ourselves that we have this going on, that we have the clenched fists and the quickened heartbeat. That is telling us something. It's telling us that we are alive and have something worth fighting for. Valerie asks, how will you channel that into something that delivers life instead of death? And I think that's a very important question to ask. And of course, she says, breathe, think, then choose your sword and shield. You don't have to have the answers. You don't have to know the answers. You just have to be ready for the moment when the world says now. You have to be ready for the moment when that coming together is a movement that is saying to you, now is the time. The Sikh culture speaks to the warrior sage. And for some, this may seem violent. However, that is not how Valerie interprets it. Her interpretation is in the most expansive, compassionate, nonviolent, and life-enhancing way. She believes it is useful to think in this way as a means of tapping into our bravery. She sees the warrior metaphor as a nonviolent action for what it is: fierce, strategic, demanding, and disciplined. Fierce, strategic, demanding, and disciplined. Research has shown where using nonviolent action is far more successful in resolving the issues that are worth fighting for. To break another's bones, to take their life, is to forego wonder. It is to cut off a part of ourselves that we do not yet know. Choosing nonviolence is the moral and strategic approach. So here I'm about to give you the meat of this message from Valerie. So what is your sword? What will you use to fight on behalf of others? Will you use your pen? Will you write to your senators and to your legislative people and demand that they take action on some of these bills and some of these rights for Indigenous and Black and brown people? Will you use your voice? Will you use art? Art is becoming one of the mediums that people are using to get the message across. Will you use your pocketbook? Will you learn where there is people being used as slave labor for some of the things that you purchase? Will you support some of these organizations that are out doing this fierce work? And most importantly, your presence. Where will you put yourself in order to be an agent for change? So we begin where we are. We begin in our homes. We begin in our community. We begin on the front lines, in the background. Every one of us has a place where we can start. In your own home, you can find yourself where you can start watching different movies and different documentaries to educate yourself. In our community, we are having community action events, going to the Rotary on Sundays from 12:15 to 12:45. On the front lines, you may be called to step into a Black Lives Matter issue that's going on in our state. There are lots of things. And sometimes we're the background people. We're the people who will do some of the administrative work for some of these organizations. And then she says, what is your shield? How do you protect yourself and others when the fight is dangerous? Do you use your camera? She did. In her memoir, she talks about when she was in her early 20s and an activist, going to where there were like the Black Lives Matter movements now and where there are rallies and taking pictures. Documenting. Legal counsel. Again, as a lawyer, she was able to use that. And then she had a group of allies. There were groups of them. When they were called to a demonstration, they would go as a group. And then they would become a public witness. So what is your instrument? Your Dilruba. I love that word. It's a new one. I have never heard it before. Dilruba, D-I-L-R-U-B-A. The Sikh legend has it that a small stringed instrument called a Dilruba was carried on the back of soldiers onto the battlefield. They would be used to lift their spirits before they faced the fire. What is your Dilruba that centers you? Is it singing? Is it dancing? Is it drumming? Walking? Yoga? Prayer? Meditation? What is your Delruba that centers you? And I want to mention that today at 4:00 at the church in the out back around the Memorial Garden, we're going. Andrea Winger is going to be doing another event from 4 to 6 on singing and meditation. So this is something I'll tell you more about it in the announcements. But this could be your Delruba. This could be what centers you. And lastly, who is your community? Who sees the best in you? Who's willing to fight by your side? And who is willing to fight for you when you need help? These are the folks that you've created as a pocket of revolutionary love. Your spiritual action steps for this week, I'm going to give you right now. And the first one is a writing exercise. In what ways were you taught about fairness and justice? What issues do you care most deeply about? What is your role in this moment? And here's an action step. Work in solidarity with other communities by learning how to act as a strong ally or accomplice. Know that the act of allyship or acting as an accomplice, as Indigenous leaders offer, is necessary and requires both commitment and humility. And one starting place is to follow activists and leaders on social media and then listen and learn without intervening about what communities need from allies. There are so many podcasts now. There are so many different places where you can find activists and hear what they're saying and follow them. And then follow these instructions. Do not expect communities who have experienced enduring violence to educate you about their experiences. This is our work, friends. This is what we need to learn. We can't turn to them and expect them to educate us. And that is why we're going to be starting a couple of book groups this week on Waking Up White by Debbie Irving. I will tell you more about that also in the announcements. And I'm just trying to think of something Whoopi Goldberg said yesterday about, she talked about, we've heard the term woke, that we're woke up. She said, now we have to stay woke up. We can't go back to sleep. And I will end with a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. Power without love is reckless and abusive. And love without power is sentimental and anemic. Power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice. And justice at its best is power correcting everything that stands against love. Power without love is reckless and abusive. And love without power is sentimental and anemic. Power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice. And justice at its best is power correcting everything that stands against love. Everything that stands against love. God bless you. And now let us prepare for meditation.
When I'm quiet I'm quiet in prayer. I open my heart. Hallelujah. When I'm quiet in prayer, I see only love. See only love. When I'm quiet in prayer, I see only love. Hallelujah.
Yeah. So now taking in a deep breath. The message was a little heavy this morning, but you can take it. So taking in that breath and gently, ever so gently, letting it out. And as you breathe in peace, you breathe out love. And I am here this morning to remind you. I'm here to remind you that you are magnificent. That you are God's beloved, in whom she, he, it loves you beyond measure. There is nothing that you can do that will cause God not to love you. And you have been made for this time. This is your time. There's a line that says, we are who we've been waiting for. We are it. And so we open our hearts. We open up to the wonder all around us, to all that we have not even tapped into yet. We find somebody that we do not know well, and we ask them to tell us their story. Everyone has a story. And as we learn their story, we find a deep connection. We find they are not much different than me. We laugh with them. We cry with them. We grieve with them. And they may even need us to fight with them, or fight for them, not with them, to fight for them. Do they need an ally, an accomplice? Let us just sit with that for a few minutes. Let love guide you this week. Let love tell you what is yours to do. And love will give you whatever you need to do that. And so we sit in conscious, compassionate awareness, and we remember that compassion for oneself is the beginning of compassion for all. And so it is. Amen.
Carol, I see your comments about it being out of sync. That's an internet issue. That's not an issue with my hardware. Probably not an issue with your hardware either. I'm going to move this back. Whoa, that's really long. Good heavens. Do I need all these lyrics? Well, the song is really simple and we know it. It's just that each verse changes very slightly. So I think even if you can't see the very, oh, there it is, the very bottom. All right, break them on down. Do, do, do. Finding my intro, find my groove here. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down. Break 'em on down, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls, these walls, these walls between us. Hold 'em on out, hold 'em on out, these arms between us. Hold 'em on out, these arms between us. Hold 'em on out, these arms between us. Hold 'em on out, these arms, these arms, these arms between us. between us. Building on up this love between us. Building on up this love between us. This love between us. This love between us.
Awesome. Thank you, Dina. I'm going to bring Kim back on, and she's going to share our blessing with us.
Sorry, had to unmute myself. So our blessing for giving, I'd just like to say before we go into the giving, that the view that I am seeing from our Board of Trustees is truly miraculous, how we're sustaining our community through all of the financial giving that people are doing, as well as giving of their time to hold our community together during this uncertain time. So I wanted to thank everybody who's been a part of all of that, whether you're tuning into a meditation, joining for a Friday gathering dinner, or able to give financially. It is greatly appreciated, and we are sailing along. We are going during this pandemic, even though we can't physically be together. I want to reiterate something Reverend Pat said in her talk. Giving is a form of revolutionary love that only can be practiced in a community, and that's what we're doing. If you would like to send a check or do automatic donations, all of that information is on our website, unitygreaterportland.org. And now I will do our blessing. So please repeat with me. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, for the joy of giving.
Thank you, Kim. That was beautiful. And I want to share with you a few announcements. And I saw Andrea Wenger on here. I saw her in the chat box. And Andrea is partnering with us today. And from 4 to 6, it will be outdoor community sing and sound bath. I love that, sound bath with Andrea. If you joined us during the full moon event that she hosted, it was wonderful, and I know that this will be as well. It's a beautiful day, so find yourself to Unity. You can go to her website and register. It's a minimal amount that she's asking, and you can donate there, and we do share in that with her. So hopefully you'll get there. And a few other things that I want to say. This is the last week that you can join our daytime book group, which we are doing the Book of Joy by Desmond Tutu and the Dalai Lama. It is a wonderful book, and it's a wonderful book to be doing right now in light of all that's going on, to remember to bring joy into our lives. And that happens on Thursdays. No, it does not. It happens on Tuesdays from 10:30 to noon. And if you want to register and you haven't already, either email me or go to our Heart Thought. There's a link in there to register, and we would love to have you join us. And then I mentioned today that as part of the Interspiritual Intercultural Celebration, we have 2 other book groups that are going. And I do want to, 3 other book groups that are going. And I will say that we need to have at least 6 people participating in them to make them go. So there are 2 Waking Up White book groups happening. This is a book written by Debbie Irving, and Debbie grew up in Massachusetts. It's a wonderful book on understanding white privilege. And there will be a Wednesday evening group that I will be facilitating from 6:30 to 8. And that will be for 7 weeks. And there will be a Thursday daytime book group that will be meeting at 11 on, and these are both on Zoom, by the way. And the Thursday book group will be hosted by Jana Brownlee. Jana is one of our prayer partners and a member of the Seasons group. And she will, if we can put, I think you're on here, Jana, if you can put your email address in the chat box, people can email you directly, or if you need, you can email me and I will get you to Jana. But both of these groups will be happening this week, Wednesday evening from 6:30 to 8 and Thursdays at 11. And again, if we don't have 6 people, then they won't happen. Another book group that is happening, and that's being facilitated by Christine Wolf, and that is Birthing a Greater Reality by Reverend Robert Brummett, who is a Unity minister. And this is one that is going to happen at Christine's home. And she has room for 4 people, safe distancing. And so you can either email Christine or call her. Christine, if you put your information in the chat box, that would be great too. And for those of you that go on to our Wednesday evening meditation, that is changing. It is going to start now on Tuesday evenings at 6:30. So Tuesday evenings will be meditation at 6:30. Remember also today, the vigil at the Rotary between 202 and 302 happens at 12:15. And then, of course, we have our virtual coffee hour on Zoom. Christine has put that information in the chat box. And so we'll meet you over there. Okay, I think that takes care of it. I think that everything else you can find either on Heart Thoughts or on our Facebook page or on our website. And thank you so much for being with us today. And now let us end with the peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as the one source, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Thank you, Dina. And now let us close with the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. We are the light. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love. The power of God protects us. We are the power. And the presence of God watches over us. We are the present. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. God bless you. I bow in gratitude to you for being with us today.